spirit sail. Every mark on this earth tells a tale. Every day that goes by without ever asking why, you believe in your dreams. Close your eyes and believe in magic as I hold your hand. Close your eyes, believe in magic. 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 Believe in magic.
Hello and welcome, friends, to the Alex Levy Show. I am your host, Alex Levy, and I am so honored to have you spend an hour here with me. If you want to trust your inner guidance, ignite your intuition, and lead a more spirit-guided life, then you are in the right place. Today is Thursday, February 21st, 2019. I am a psychic medium, intuitive coach, and creator of the Spirit Guided Oracle, and you are listening on the International Angels Network. My passion is to help light workers cultivate their intuition. It is my hope that our time here today will be high vibe, spirited, and filled with light energy as we talk about practices, tips, and strategies to help guide people to their natural fullness of power. And I am so excited about you joining me tonight. Thank you for showing up. My guest today is the amazing Felicia Bender, also known as the Practical Numerologist. And she's going to take your calls and share about this numerology universal 3-year that we're in. And when we do move over to the calls in a little bit, we will need your full date of birth so that Felicia can give you some insight into your life path number. Or you can add up your life path number yourself if you to add up the month plus the day plus the year and then break that down to one number. But more on that in a minute. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone here at the International Angels Network and our amazing producer and founder, Claudia Ibarra, for creating this incredibly safe space for light workers to come together and unite. So Felicia and I will be taking your calls, and the lines, I think, are probably filling up. So go ahead and call, as we are a live call-in show, and we'll be doing readings. So the number is 1-516-453-9162, and that's 1-516-453-9162. You can also Skype into the show for free from anywhere around the world. You will see a Skype icon on the Blog Talk website, and that's www.blogtalkradio.com/International Angels Network while we are live on air. So make sure you press 1 on your phone keypad or Skype keypad if you would like to speak to Felicia, and then you will be in the queue. And if you can't get to the phone, don't worry. You can also send me a question over on Instagram at AlexLevy_intuitive. And you can also find me on Facebook at Alex Levy Angel Reader. And finally, I would love for you to check out my angel clearing meditation. If you just head over, it's free, to my angel circle at alexlevyonline.com. And I want to just share some announcements with you guys. If you are searching for a spiritual practitioner, we invite you to check out the directory we have at the International Angels Network. There's readings, there's energy healers, teachers, mentors, coaches, metaphysical online stores for the mind, body, and spirit. And with today's technology, it makes it possible for you to work with anyone in this directory. So just visit internationalangelsnetwork.com/directory. If you also would like to be a guest here on the International Angels Network, just head to the website and scroll down and you can find a page and just fill out a little form and submit it, as we would love to have you on our show. And I just want to thank Audible, as our network is sponsored by Audible by Amazon. You can get your free audiobook today. So to redeem your audiobook, visit audibletrial.com/International Angels. You can try Audible free for 1 month and receive a free audiobook for just subscribing. And this really helps us support our online radio network, which we really, really appreciate. So to redeem your free audiobook, go to audibletrial.com/International Angels. You can cancel anytime, and you get a first free audiobook. All right, I'm so excited to bring on our special guest today. Felicia Bender is the practical numerologist, and she is the author of Redesign Your Life, Using Numerology to Create the Wildly Optimal You, and the author of Master Numbers 11, 22, 33, The Ultimate Guide. Felicia is passionate about writing, counseling, teaching, and presenting ways to use numerology, spirituality, and intuition to understand ourselves and others on a deep level, to validate our life purpose, and to develop tools to understand how to trust our own intuitive language. She is also a contributor to theelephantjournal.com, numerologist.com, and other media. And Felicia is the resident numerologist for astrostyle.com. And you can find her at feliciabender.com. So without further ado, welcome, Felicia. Thank you so much for joining today.
Oh, my gosh. It's so great to hear your voice again, Alex.
Oh.
So, yay.
Yay. So first of all, I just want to share with our listeners, you gave me the most incredible reading. I think that was the summer, right? We connected?
Yeah. Yes. And yet, as we were speaking about before we got on air here, that time does seem fluid, doesn't it? So
totally.
I'll trust you on your date stamping on when we saw each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mentioned this last week when I was announcing the shows coming up, and when I had a reading with you, you made numerology in a way like not about the numbers so much. Mm-hmm. And it's so much. You kind of opened my eyes, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so much more than just numbers. So I want to talk about that. But can you first share with our listeners a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Well, and it kind of collides with that, Alex. I'll just pick up the ball where you left it there, because what's so fascinating to me is that my background is varied, and yet let's just say that I have a PhD in theater. I have I have done, businesses and real estate in my life. I'm a parent and other sorts of other life things that we all, that we do. And yet what's been fascinating to me about numerology is that if you would have told me however long ago, and most people are like this, right, that I would have been doing this, I would have laughed you off of the face of the earth,
Right, yeah.
Because I hate math more than anything in the world, and it's like what you're talking about. We all get, so the one of the reasons I say that is because if you are kind of math phobic, like many of us are,
that's me. I'm raising my hand.
That's right. That's me as well. This really found me. I didn't find it, and what I'm want to say about it is that what really attracted me to this science and art is that it actually is numbers, but the numbers are a language, right?
Oh, I love thinking about it like that.
Yeah, so it really actually, the numbers just allow us to understand, coding. Right? It's so interesting because numerology itself is this ancient, science and art. There are a lot of different variations of numerology. The one I use comes from Pythagoras. He's the Greek mathematician, mystic, and all kinds of other things. Would have been a really interesting guy to, sit down and have a cocktail with, right? Because he was back in 500 BC, and basically, though, he posits the idea that numbers carry with them, not only that quantitative value, 1 glass, 2 glasses, and so on, carries with them a vibratory influence, a vibration, and an energy and a frequency.
Yeah.
And so the basic idea around numerology is that, and we can kind of wrap our brain around it now in our technological world that we live in, right? Our digital reality that we're in. And yet, if we think about it in terms of, this has been, a mystical thought for so, in numerology circles for so long, it's basically that we all, as human beings, come in with a plan. And we get that plan. We can delineate that plan numerologically by knowing your full name as it is on your birth certificate, as it's given on your birth certificate, and then your birth date. And that allows us to really formulate a blueprint of what you checked in for and what your strengths are going to be, where there are going to be weak points. We can talk about cycles of time and really what you're about and what you're learning during those periods. So it's a really amazing tool that we can take from numbers and bring in, the values that and the what the defining characteristics are to the numbers, if that makes sense. And
it
so
does.
But it's an interesting thing because it's kind of like knowing code, right? It's like It's like walking into a room where there's Morse code, and you've got the dots and dashes. If you don't know Morse code, it's just static. You don't even know anything's going on, right?
Yeah.
And yet, if you walk into a room and Morse code is there and you know Morse code, you know what information is being, conveyed. So it's the same idea, basically, with when you get into numerology. It's a really it's really super fun to begin to know just the basics about each of the numbers, what it always carries with it, and then you can start really plugging it in wherever it shows up.
It's so fascinating. I just love it. And I also want to say I love you have this really cool planner. I don't remember if you read my numbers, but when you remember, but I love planners. I love organization. I love structure. Last year I had my desire map planner. I had an astrology planner. I had a moon planner, and this year I'm simplifying, and I just have the life force, the 4-path planner from you, and I have my desire map. So I'm streamlining it this year.
Fantastic.
Numerology's on. Yes, yeah. But so I want to talk a little bit for a moment about this universal 3-year that's going on that we kind of just started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how is this different than the energies we came out of from 2018, and what really is? What does the 3-year mean?
Well, and so what we all need to know, those of you out there listening, is that we have these cycles of time that we can talk about and really kind of gauge those and get some parameters around, what we're doing and what's going to be optimal, right? What's being supported energetically during a year. And so the universal year is kind of that umbrella energy. It is an energy that all of us on the planet are experiencing. And the way that we get that number is simply by taking the year, so it's 2019, and you simply add it together, the numbers together like a very simple math problem, addition problem. So you take 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9, and that equals 12. And then we're always reducing in numerology to a 1-digit number. So if you have a 2-digit number, then you simply continue to do the math. So you take the 12, you take the 1 plus 2 equals 3. So this year, we're in a 3-personal year, and yet last year, what we're really kind of coming out of for last year was a universal year that was really guided by a master number, which is the 11/2. So And not to get too complicated right out of the chute, and yet the master numbers have a more of a charge to them.
And I think people are familiar with seeing those a lot, right?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of people, it's an angel number.
Angel number, right.
Right. And when you see 1111 on the clock, it really is an angel number. Often people will say stop and make a wish. It's like a portal of energy. Even if you look at the numbers, right, Alex, the two 11s next to each other, they look like doorways.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's true. They do. Yeah.
And we feel in numerology that it really is a moment where there's infinite possibility when you can stop and truly clarify your intentions. It's a field of opportunity that, it's kind of like the law of attraction times 10, right? You can really shoot that rocket of desire out there, to quote Abraham Hicks, but it offers a very interesting, just kind of nice nod, right, from your cosmic support team, from the universe, saying, what I always like to do during 11:11 is truly stop and think about what was I thinking about then. Right? And often it's something, either it's something you're chewing on, it was an argument you had with your boyfriend or girlfriend or your parent or whatever, or something like that. Or was it thinking about how grateful you are for something, or really chewing on that idea for your new business something new that you're going to expand on with your business or something like that. And so whatever you're focused on at that time will expand,
It's like putting a spotlight on it, right?
It is.
It magnifies everything, yeah.
Absolutely. So, and with that said, last year was the 11 the 11 number really is the number of spiritual illumination when we see it as a cycle of time, right? So the interesting element is it's very hot, it's very intense. It causes, when we experience it again as a cycle of time, I'm a real visual person, so it's kind of like the water you're swimming in, right? In some ways. And so so last year was more, it was an arm wrestle, because because if you look at it numerologically, you have the 11, and then you can do a slash, and then there's a 2. So the 2 is the foundational energy, and so the 2 is love and relationship and patience. So last year was really kind of a resting point, and it was a time where people, were experiencing maybe frustration, delays, that sort of thing, and yet it was more of a time to direct your energy toward like us, more of a community thing rather than me, right?
Right.
Yeah, and yet you've got the double ones on top of that, which kind of almost cancels that out, because you've got the 1 and the 2 are very disparate energies. The 1 is all about me, all about initiation, all about the self, individuality, independence, action. And the 2 is more like the yin yang, right? So the 2 is more of the receptive, more all about others, more intuitive, more emotionally acute. And so it was a really interesting year for all of us to be super sensitive to all of this. And it was really a time where I feel truly, when we see it as a cycle, we don't even really understand the ramifications of the deep, deep spiritually based changes that happen to us individually during this cycle until years later.
Yeah.
Right? And I think when we look at politically, environmentally, and even, take it from that macrocosmic view and then go into just our personal lives, what was going on there, it was just highly charged, right?
Definitely.
Do you feel that way? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're right. We sometimes, I think, put up kind of blinders, and it's hard for us to see the bigger picture of what's really going on in that moment.
Right.
So it takes a while, I think, for us to be able to step away, especially when it's so charged, like you're saying.
Yeah, and it's a lot. And again, it is. It was a time last year where we were all being brought up, to put our face against the mirror, right? And to reflecting back into, it's just very tumultuous when we do these monumental changes in our spiritual world, and that also manifests in our physical world, right? And so, as we bridge that into this year, it's a very interesting bridge because this year we're in a universal year. And so this really is an interesting time for the 3 because the 3 is the number of communication, creative self-expression, emotional sensitivity. It's really supporting all of us in finding what lights us up.
Oh, okay.
Right? What lights you up, and do more of that. And the interesting element about the 3, it's the number of joy, of optimism. And yet the shadow side to that, because we're always working with oppositions, right? Whenever we're dealing with the influence of a number, there are the optimal elements, what it's supportive of. And yet we're also going to always be, working as we're learning about that, the opposition. So let's say, the number 3 is about joy. Well, there's going to be some sense of hopelessness that you get to grapple with. It's all about fun. Maybe things are not going to feel fun. It's about tapping into your emotions and speaking your truth. Well, that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah. There's always that duality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's this beautiful opportunity to really step into it. And the beauty and the challenge of the number 3 is that it is the number of joy, optimism, and expression and emotional sensitivity. And because of that, it allows us, and I say that with air quotes, allows us or offers us experiences and opportunities that give us the opportunity to shine our light in very dark places, right?
Interesting. So do you think that there's going to be, with that being said, what sort of universal challenges may we kind of expect in this 3 year?
Well, what I think that the challenges and the opportunities. So let's talk about the opportunities first. I feel like the arts are flourishing in terms of opening things up for communication and for change. Right. I mean, we're seeing that with the Me Too movements, with all of the other elements, with film and art and even commercials. Aren't you noticing that we're getting
absolutely
much more inclusive, much more? I mean, if I see more, and I love this, and I'm using the word love. And last year was really, a benchmark for all you need is love. How do we get back to love? At the end of the day, it's love or fear.
It's true.
So how do we get back? And didn't you notice that last year? There was a lot of... I
did notice that.
Of talk, of activity, even in marketing, even just bringing this, onto the plate, right? And so this year is going to really, grab that ball and move it into this year where again, overarchingly, universally, we're going to be looking at how to use our creativity because, invention is, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And so we are, all of us universally, at points where we're going to need some pretty creative problem solving, right? And so that's what's coming on. And yet why don't we whistle while we work, right? Yeah, and so that's part of the energy of the 3. It's finding where you can shine your light in onto darker circumstances and not succumb to the despair, right? And I'll kind of bridge this as an example. So let's use the example here of the 3 life path and oh my gosh, I'm not even going to remember her name at the moment. That's horrible.
That's
the young woman who was kidnapped. gosh, and I know this, and it just left my brain. She was kidnapped, and when she was 14.
Elizabeth Smart?
Thank you, Elizabeth Smart,
Yes.
and you're my wingman. And and she was kidnapped when she was 14 and went through unspeakable horrors. She's a 3 life path, so it's not like joy and optimism are, you're just going to be doing a tap dance every day. You must go through the trauma,
right?
Because what is she doing now? She is getting up in front of people and communicating with them. She's inspiring them.
Yeah, she's an advocate.
She's an advocate with her story. That's the energy of the 3 also. How can you take your experience? How can you move through it? And then how can you help others? How can you inspire them to be their best? Right? So that's it, just as an example of the energy that we can all be experiencing, because we can feel pretty depressed right now.
Yeah.
If we all wanted to, right?
Right.
That's the easy route. And yet the 3 energy is encouraging us to feel it, but to feel it and move through it. Right?
Yeah, don't stay stuck there. Move through it.
No, don't linger there. And don't use it as an excuse, and don't be a victim, and yet, look at it and go, okay, this could benefit from a change, and so how am I going to contribute to that on the smallest scale and the largest scale? I mean, I see the beautiful energy of this 3 universal year is like, how about if we all just look at each other in the eye when we see each other? How about if we ask our barista how his or her day is going and really mean it?
Yeah, it's just the little things.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week. I was talking about just little rituals you can do, like you said, just smiling at somebody in the elevator, like those tiny little things. I think there's such windows of opportunity that just make the biggest shifts when we don't realize it. It's like a ripple, right?
It is, and it makes you feel better. It's giver's gain.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And so, I would just say overarchingly this is a year where we're also going to, again, the overall thing, and yet it also affects us individually. It's really testing us in stepping up our communication skills. To speak our truth, but that always sounds so trite, doesn't it? Oh, speak your truth. Well, what is your truth? That's
true. You have to
truth is multiple, right? And so we have to navigate and engage ourselves in truly extracting what that means to us personally, and where we'll come to the plate with with our values and with our truth, and how we can represent that to others. That can be in your intimate relationship. It can be within your family. It can be in business. It can be in all levels, right, of how we engage our emotional life and how we speak. And it's not only in how well we do that. It's also in in articulating a more a better expression, not being gossipy, not bad-mouthing people, not being sarcastic, being really impeccable with our word.
Being impeccable with our word, yeah. It's true. So I have a question. So what about someone who, if their life path number lines up with the universal year number, is that sort of magnified then, or is that different?
Yes. Yeah, it does. And it's interesting because we've got that universal year, but when we take calls, we can talk a bit about the personal year, because that kind of is, to me, it's one level closer to our, to our real. It's the most immediate energy I feel, that we feel. It's the personal year. And you get that by taking your month of birth and your day of birth, and then the current year. and then adding that together, and you get your personal year number. And so
Okay.
we believe in numerology that we go through 9-year cycles throughout our lives. And so it's 1 through 9, and 1 is new beginnings, and 9 is the end of a cycle. And then again, when we know what each number in between supports us with, it's a fantastic tool of really leaning into that and making it more successful, knowing what you're being supported by this year, and then also what some of the roadblocks that might come into play. And so even for you, Alex, I was looking back at your chart because you are a 4 life path and you're in a 4 personal year. So you're, oh my goodness, pace yourself, darling.
I know, I'm trying. I know.
For those of you out there, the 4 is, as a life path number, it's kind of the systems builder, the teacher. It's very foundational energy processes, hard work, all of those amazing things that manifest things in the world, right? And I love that you were talking about all your calendars and everything, because that's such a 4.
That's a 4 thing, right?
It's a 4 thing. So and it's beautiful. I mean, it's if you want anything to get done, just ask Alex to do it, because he's the one. If you want something done, ask a busy person, right?
Yes,
to do it, and that would be you. And so you're in a 4 personal year. So this is a year to really batten down the hatches. This is a year where you're getting things lined up and systematized, and making it's a time for long-term goals, right? For setting those and then putting it in place, because it's a little bit arduous. That's an understatement. I'm trying to say it's fairly arduous, and sometimes thankless, and sometimes feels like, oh my gosh, could this be any harder? It's like the 4 is also the number of limitations. So some of the things that you think are going to be easy just turn into clusters, and you're like, why is this? And yet it's really training you to be able to be tenacious, to go after it, to be patient, and have the endurance that it takes to do this. Because at the end of this year, you will have set things up to make your life so much more productive, and to really tap into certain levels of freedom next year that couldn't happen unless you have done the groundwork this year.
2020 is going to be interesting. But so I want to let people know, if you would like a reading, please give us a call. Don't be shy. You can call in at 1-516-453-9162, and all we need from you is your date of birth, or you can add up your life path number yourself. If you just take your month plus your day plus your year and reduce it to one number. You can also Skype into the show for free from anywhere in the world. You will see a Skype icon on the Blog Talk website, where we are live, and make sure you press 1 on your phone keypad or Skype keypad if you want to talk to me and Felicia. And you can listen to the International Angels Network every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, where we explore everything metaphysical, spiritual, and mystical, and much, much more, and take your calls live on air. So Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern with Claudia Ibarra, Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern with Divine Guidance with Shisha O'Donnell. Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern with Diane Morgan with Angel Navigation. Wednesdays with Angel Talk with Sue. And Saturdays we have Susie Parrott at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time. And then you can join us next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern with myself, Alex Levy. And I'm going to have on the amazing medium, Alyssa Wilde. But so you can connect with me tonight and Felicia at internationalangelsnetwork.com/Alex. And also, if there's a topic you would like me to cover on the show, or any guests you'd like to hear from, feel free to drop me a message. internationalangelsnetwork.com/Alex. All right. So we'll see if we have any callers. I'm so excited to let me just break this down again. We just need, you can give us your date of birth or your month plus your day plus your year.
Yeah, and let's go through that real quickly because sometimes it can be confusing to people. So let's just use an example. So let's say that you were born August 14th, 1963. Okay, so you take August, and that's an 8 because it's the eighth month. So you just put on your piece of paper a number 8. So the day is 14. So you take the 14, it's a double-digit number. So you take the 1 plus 4, and that equals 5. So the day is a 5. So then you take 1963, do the same thing, 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 3. So that's 10, 16, 17, 18, 19. Again, we're going to continue to add. So we take 1 plus 9 equals 10. See, and this is where people can get confused because you're like, well, it's a 10. Well, it's a double digit, though. So even though it has the 0 there, we carry forward and do another addition problem there and go 1 plus 0 equals 1. So that would be a 1. Then, so now we have the 8, the 5, and the 1. So you take 8 plus 5 plus 1. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then plus 1 is 14. So again, you have 14. So now you're going to continue to add to get your life path number. So that's 1 plus 4 equals 5. So in this example, you would have a 5 life path.
Awesome. I think we have a caller. I'm just going to give our number out one more time. It's 1-516-453-9162, and just press 1 on your phone keypad. And we have our first caller, Joe Ellen from Indiana, I believe. Hi, Joe Ellen.
Hi.
How are you? Thanks for calling in.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks for being online.
Yeah. Do you have a question for Felicia and I?
Did you want to do my numerology numbers?
I would love to. Joe, can you
cool.
give me your birth date, please?
3/31/67.
All right. So, and I always say it's kind of like being a contractor. You have to, measure twice, cut once. It's the same with your numerology. Always do. Always do.
That's funny.
Always do it more than once. So we've got 10, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So we've got 9. So you're a 3. Alex, are you doing it as well so that you're checking my math?
Yep.
Did you get a 3 as well?
You're right.
Okay, perfect. And then let me look at your 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So Joe Ellen, hi, thanks for calling. And so we'll just give you a quick mini reading here. So the life path number that you have is a number 3. And it's interesting because your birthday number is a 4. And the birthday number sometimes indicates a little bit more where you feel a little more comfortable. And yet the 3 is what you're really growing into and evolving into and learning. And so the 3, as a 3 life path, and it's kind of like knowing your sun sign in astrology as well. It is your life's purpose, what you're here to get to know all about. So the 3 is the communicator, okay? All about creative self-expression, emotional sensitivity. It's really it's interesting also. So bear with me because often when I talk with 3s, they're like, that is like the farthest thing from me, and that's humanly possible. And so the interesting element is 3s often you're meant to be this communicator. So remember what we talked about before, because these are the things that we are here to do, they're often going to be the most difficult things for us to do. That's why it takes a lifetime. So you really are gifted at anything creative. Often you're a perennial student who is very curious and very about everything, and yet at the end of the day, you're really being asked to use your creative and communicative skills to inspire and uplift others on some realm. Okay, and what do you and with the 4 as your birthday though, you have a very grounded foundational energy. So one of the things about the 3 is that again we have some of our stumbling blocks. The biggest one for the 3 is self-doubt. and and early on kind of a fear of criticism, as a child. And I don't know a 3 who hasn't gone through their fair share of emotional trauma. It's kind of like you're a kid who's probably was, grew up in a family where if you have an emotion, just please take it outside, right?
Yes.
That sounds familiar. And and then for you, and does it sound familiar to you? What do you do in your, for work? May I ask you?
Yeah, you hit the hammer on the nail. I'm an art teacher.
I love
wow.
it.
So yeah.
It's so. You know what? I'm perpetually just absolutely so enthusiastic about numerology because the 4, which is your birthday, is the teacher, and the 3 is that creative artist. So you're an art teacher. It's like it couldn't be any more perfect. And yet, also, Joellen, last year was a big transition for you. And so this year for you is a new chapter. And so I would just say that last year there were some things that changed, that fell away. Usually it's a very transformational time where maybe you experience some sense of what we might consider to be a loss of some sort, and I mean that gently. I mean, it just could be a move, it could be a job change, it could be a divorce, a marriage, it could be all kinds of things, but a pretty substantial shift. Did you? Yeah. And anything else happening in that way, just to kind of bring you into a new phase of life?
It might seem trivial, but I got a dog, and that's a big change for me.
No, that's not trivial at all. That is a new chapter. That's a family member, for goodness sake. Yeah, absolutely. I know that's
Thank you
brief,
for calling
but
in.
Yeah,
I have to interject. We have a few callers. I want to make sure we get to people, but thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so cool. I love hearing you do this. It's so cool. So our next caller, we have Felicia. We have David from California.
Okay.
Hi, David.
Hi, David.
Greetings. Thank you for taking my call.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Will you share your birthday with us?
Yes, it's not 8/14, but it is August 2nd, 1963.
Okay. Perfect.
So pretty close to your example.
All right. You're a master number, mister.
I know.
He's like, yeah, I know. Tell me about it. 8, 9, he says, I say that lovingly because the master numbers are very interesting. And so 8, 9, 10, so 1. So you're joining Alex in your 4 personal year, correct?
Welcome to the 4 Club.
I did that math when I was listening, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, David is and did you have a question? I think we kind of interrupted you. Did you have a question up front?
Well, it's a little off tangentially from what you're talking about, but I don't wear a watch and I hardly ever look at my cell phone, but I'm one of those people that whenever I do look at a clock, it's always 333 or 555, and I'm just wondering, as a person who studies numbers, if you have, an idea behind that, because it can happen to me like 5 times a day.
Yes, and it's driving you insane, isn't it, at this point?
Well, it did for a while, but I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's possibly communication from a different level that, it can't be tampered with. I mean, if you're using words can always have inflections and different meanings, but numbers can't.
Right, right. Well, and yes, repeating numbers are a whole other language, and we get spoken to by what I like to call it, our cosmic support team in this manner. And the more that we notice them, the more that our cosmic support team is like, oh my gosh, yay, jazz hands, they're noticing. We're going to talk to them more, right? So the 333, David, is actually a message from the Ascended Masters. Saying hi to you. And basically when you see the 3 repeated like that, it is really giving you a pat on the back and saying anything that you can infuse your joy, your optimism, and your creativity into is going to expand and is the direction you need to be going. okay? And usually this is when you are either struggling with a decision around this, or you are actively involved in this project or thing, or just, thought that you're having, and that they're just offering you that message that to keep at it and to do it and to do that with and to have fun doing what you're doing. And then the 555, the 5 is the number, when you see it repeatedly, it's the number of change. So when you see 5s repeated, you know that there's going to be some change coming. So there's got to be a song that would, be the theme song for that. But you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yep.
And David, I pulled a card for you from the Spirit Guide Oracle, and the card I got was the Guardians of Protection. And when they come up, it's all about letting you know that we need to work on strengthening boundaries, but specifically our psychic, emotional, and our personal boundaries, because they're also connected. So maybe this could also be tied into seeing this Ascended Master repeated number is really maybe a time to really focus on boundaries. And also, maybe there's, people, I think, over our times as we kind of grow, our tribe kind of changes. So I feel like there could be a shift in the tribe and of your people. So I think there's just making way for new people to kind of come into your tribe. But thank you for calling in. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Felicia, let's take a YouTube live comment. Somebody over on YouTube. We have Belinda, and her birthday is January 26th, 1967.
All right. 10, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 5. So she is a 5. Are you doing the math with me? I never want to give a wrong reading here.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then 8, 9. And so a 3 personal year. So she is a 5, and then she also has an 8 birthday. Interesting combination. So the 5, though, as a life path is I call the 5. It's the freedom seeker. I have to say everything in capital letters with exclamation points. I say lovingly with the 5. The 5 is all about fearlessness, fun, adventure, and the agent of change. The 5 is really one of those. I call you the sensual freedom seeker. It's all about living in the world in the most tactile, sensuous way possible. And again, these people, Belinda, you're to use the cliche, can sell ice to Eskimos. You're really learning. You're very good at that. A lot of high energy with the 5. The 5 is learning the constructive use of freedom, right? Freedom through self-discipline. And 5s I always have clients who are 5s who are like, that's not even possible. What do you even mean by that? And what it means is that, it really is a lifetime where you are being called upon to show others by your example how to live their most fearless existence. And so when you're a 5, you often have this very frenetic energy about you, very attractive, very magnetic, and also the 5 again can be a little bit learning how to structure and focus around certain things to have some productivity. I mean, it's funny, Alex, because you're a 4 and you're kind of in some ways the anti-5. You need to have a structure. You need to do everything. 5s are more like, no, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like getting up and doing that
go with
today.
The flow.
Yeah, and yet the interesting thing about the 5 is that again, it's all an exploration of freedom and the levels of freedom in your life and what freedom means to you. So you're also going to get more than your share of restriction, right? When you're learning about that, and really be called upon to rein it in and to put some constructs and a few constraints to make a life productive and focused for you. Yeah.
Thank you, Belinda.
Thank
so
you.
Are you up for one more kind of like flash reading? I think we have one more caller we could take.
All right, flash reading, we're in.
Flash reading. Let's see. How about April from Michigan? April, you are live.
Hello.
Hi, April.
Hi, April.
What's your
How you
number?
guys doing?
We're great.
Well, my birthday is 12/12/71, and I think it's number 6.
Oh,
okay.
fabulous.
12.
I'm just doing the math for you. 10, 17, 18. Yep, you are a 6. And, April, the 6 is the nurturer, right? She's like, see, listen to her. And she's, it's love, duty, service. It's a very interesting, you're also quite a visionary. See the bigger picture in things. And it's, even the 6, if you look at it, if you visualize it, it's like a little pregnant belly, so you're going to nurture everything. And it doesn't mean you have to be married and have a family in the traditional sense, but there is that higher level of duty and service that you feel no matter what. And and you're super responsible, learning how to modulate that, and learning how to kind of quell your perfectionist tendencies. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well.
Yes. And I know we had to do a flash reading. I think we're done. I think we're out of time, Alex.
We have
correct?
A few more minutes. We're
okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, and then your personal year is a 6. So you're in a 9 personal year, April. So I wanted to just kind of, flag that for you as a very transitional time. Are you feeling that?
I don't know what I'm feeling, but I'm feeling something.
Yeah, pretty intense, isn't it? And
kind of like a lost feeling, I think.
Yeah, and often so really to really galvanize yourself this year and give you to give you strength and something to align with. This is a time of review, of looking, kind of going back to the future before you move into a next phase, a next chapter. Mm-hmm. So there's that, and it's about surrender. It's about kind of letting go. So last year was really high intensity for you, making things happen. This year is more about kind of putting your paddles in the boat and letting you go with the flow, right? So the things that will slough off are meant to go. It's a time to release things that you no longer need, to make space for change to come in. And yet the scary part is you're not going to know what that new thing is yet. So be okay with the uncertainty. I know that's easy for me to say on this end, and yet if you are reminded that it what needs to go will go, and what needs to come in needs to have a little bit of that healed space, that liminal space for a moment before you can know what the next phase is. Okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
Thank you for calling in. So, Felicia, you provide readings, but what type of readings and exactly you offer?
Yes, well, I offer kind of a basic overview, and then more intensive readings that get deeper into different elements and aspects of your own chart, of people in your life, and we can kind of really get down and dirty with that. But we really go over very, very specifically your cycles of time, and really it's my job as the interpreter, which is so much fun, is to really connect the dots in ways that might not be connected with just knowing, obviously, but just knowing your life path number. Sometimes people are like, well, that just doesn't even sound like me. And then you look at your chart and you have, you're a 5 life path, but you've got 3 6s, and those are very different energies. So sometimes it's a really great way of really validating certain elements, really answering some questions around where you are and what the trajectory is, and it's a beautiful way of really putting some parameters around who you are and what direction you're going.
I love it. And I love you also, the pinnacles. I wish we could have talked more about that.
I
but
know.
You get that. Those are really provide a lot of insight, right?
They do. They really do.
It kind of breaks things down.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we could, regroup another time and do the pinnacle cycles, because I actually did a workshop with just the pinnacles.
Ooh, that'd be neat. Yeah.
And it was really, really a beautiful time. I mean, they're like those building blocks to our lives that we can really look at and go, wow, this is what I'm learning during these chunks, and this is where I'm headed. It's a really powerful tool. So
yeah, you'll have to come back and we'll chat. So where can everybody find you?
You can find me at the portal, basically, is FeliciaBender.com, and because you can find my Facebook there, Instagram, Twitter. I've got a YouTube channel, and yet the website will direct you to all of those other avenues. So. And
I think your Twitter is Felicia Bender 1, right?
Yes.
And Instagram at Felicia Bender?
Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. This was so much fun.
Oh, my gosh. It's so
You'll
great
have to come
hear.
Back. Please come back.
I would love
know
to.
Our listeners, I'm sorry. Thank you guys for calling if we didn't get a chance to answer your call.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And please, I hope you will come back. All right. So
I would love to.
Yay, thank you. So I am Alex Levy, and this is the Alex Levy Show on February 21st. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please send me hello over to Instagram. I love to connect with you guys at AlexLevy_intuitive. The Spirit Guided Oracle is available still for pre-order, and you get a free reading with me when you pre-order that over at alexlevyonline.com. You can also connect with me at the internationalangelsnetwork.com/Alex. And Saturdays, we have Susie Parrott, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time. And Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern with Claudia Ibarra. Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern with Divine Guidance with Shishi O'Donnell. Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern with Diane Morgan of Angel Navigation. And Wednesday, Angel Talk with Sue. And you can join me next Thursday with my guest, Alyssa Wilds, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe in the Apple Podcast and over on YouTube so you are notified for future episodes as they are released. And for future events, courses, I am available for personal readings. Please subscribe and go to my website at alexlevyonline.com. You get a free meditation for just joining. And please stay connected over at social media. So thank you all so much for joining in. And I'm sending you all lots of love. And let's see, trying to look at the comments. Diane, you did, yeah. I'm glad Felicia broke that down. You were wondering, Diane was wondering about the 2018 was the same as your life path. So I'm glad she talked about that. I know so many of us see the 1111, right? Belinda, you're saying you see 1111 today. And it's funny, I just wrote about that on Instagram yesterday. So thank you all so much. Felicia, are you still here?
I am.
Any last words for our listeners?
Other than thank everyone for doing their for doing their work. Boy, if we all did that, the world would be a very different place, wouldn't it? So
it would be, yeah.
Yeah. So thank everybody, and come back and see us again, right?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Okay.
All right, everyone, and. Again, thank you so much. I have some really awesome guests lined up, so please stay tuned and make sure you subscribe in the podcasts in iTunes and over on YouTube. And again, next week we have Alyssa Wilds. I have some events for those of you in Florida. I am going to be in Florida in next about 2 weeks. I will be doing Messages from Spirit live in Orlando, and that will be on March 10th in Orlando. I'm also going to be in Tampa doing readings on the 9th, and in Sarasota, Florida on the 7th. And I will be teaching an Oracle workshop on the 16th of March. So please come hang out with me and join me in Florida. And I think next week I will be giving away some tickets for the Messages with Spirit live with Alyssa Wilds in Orlando. So thank you all again for listening, and take it easy. Send me a hello over to Instagram, and sending you all lots of love.